What is up, guys? The day is here. You asked for 2021 flagship bows. Josh is going to guide me through the buying process. I'm going to let him be the archery expert. Kind of break it down for me a little bit, Josh. Like what is amateur me? What should I be looking for?
Well, in all honesty, if you haven't shot a ton, it's going to be a little harder to tell a precise difference between each one. So what we're going to do today is go through the same process I would do with any customer that was looking at a new 2021 bow. We set up the 4 most popular bows in here. We're going to have Tim run through 3 arrows on each one to get a good feel for them, and then start shooting individually one at a time to try to eliminate them to see which one feels better to them. But you're typically going for a couple of things. You're going for draw cycle, how it feels when you draw the bow back till you hit the back wall. How big the dump is when you jump into the back end, because that can be a little harder on shoulders one versus another.
Got it. How
the hand feels in your hand. Does the bow feel like it's turning as you're drawing it or as you're trying to hold it? How it feels when you fire it, or the vibration. And there's 2 different things in vibration. There's felt shot vibration, which is the recoil of the bow itself as it goes off. And then there's the inertia of the bow's movement forward. So there's 2 things that I would identify differently. And then the overall feel and physical finish of the bow are basically the things you would go through.
Nice.
But in the shooting, that's what we're going to do.
Sweet. Nice. Well, let's give these guys, let's go bow by bow, kind of give them the highlight reel of what we're looking at. This is... First off, we'll start with the baby. Obviously, Dan is rooting hard for me to come home with this. Newsflash, Dan. I'm going to shoot what's best for me. So, Mathews, we love you guys. You got a step at the plate, and we're going to try them all.
That's our V331. First one we're going to shoot. Went ahead and threw an engaged pocket holder on it just because it's easier to keep it up. This is a G5 Prime Nexus 2. What we tried to do is find the closest bows to each other to compare. This is a 32 axle to axle. That's a 31 axle to axle. We're trying a Hoyt Ventum 33. All these bows are set at the same weight and the same length. They should be about 65 pounds and 29 inches to compare. And then our final one that we're going to compare is the BOWTECH Solution, not the Solution SS, because this is the closest overall size and comparable bow. So each manufacturer makes different bows. One might feel a little better than what we're trying, but they're the closest things to each other that are more appropriate for Tim and his size. So these are what we're going to run through and give them a comparison.
So our comment section was definitely kind of rooting for 2 things. The BOWTECH for sure, and the Mathews for sure. And there were definitely some Prime guys, some Hoyt guys in there. We're going to start them all on an even playing field, and we're going to rank them as we go. So I think we're going to go round by round and drop a bow as we go.
Yeah, well, we're going to go 3 arrows through each one first, and then 1 arrow through each one and eliminate 1. And then 1 arrow through each one and eliminate 1. Then when you get down to 2, it's as many arrows as you feel to make the decision which one you feel is better. But as long as you've shot a couple arrows out of each one, the worst thing you can do is take 1 and shoot 30 arrows in a row out of it. It's going to start to feel really normal to you. And then pick up another one that's going to feel odd. So 3 is enough that you get a feel for how the bow cycles without falling in love with just one cycle. So it's the fairest way to break through them to pick one, is really what it was not to. So,
well, dude, I'm really excited. Let's get the process rolling, and yeah, let's figure it out, man.
Let's go.
So we're gonna lead off with the BOWTECH Solution. Give them a couple of the highlights of the pros. Like, why do people like a BOWTECH?
The 32-inch axle to axle, 6-inch brace height bow. It's a relatively fast cam, but still a relatively smooth draw. One of the big unique things that BOWTECH offers that others don't is they have a drive system in the cam that allows you to move the cam left to right or manipulate your wheel lean with Allen wrenches, other than shim kits or top hats. If you've watched some of our previous videos of how to adjust the top hats in a Mathews, this does the same thing, but it's actually built into it to where you don't need a bow press to change it. So that's its unique thing that's kind of different than everybody else that makes it a little easier in that regard.
And I'm coming from the BOWTECH family. My last bow was a Realm X, so this should kind of feel like it's at home.
Yeah, it should feel a lot like what you're used to.
Cool. We'll rip 3 arrows and then we'll talk through impressions. I'll give you my amateur thoughts and I'll let Josh talk through maybe more of the pro tech specs.
BOWTECH Solution. Yep. I'm a little lower, Tim. Right. All right, just run through your sequence like you normally would. First thought. should do.
First thought, I like how I could push and pull, honestly. I hit like a good firm back wall. Yeah, that's really nice. That's something I've kind of been working on with my shot, is being able to get back there and feel pulling. So that felt good. And there's definitely some vibration in the hand when it went off.
Make sure on at least one of the 3 shots, I know you're supposed to shoot with a relaxed hand and keep it open, but on one of the 3 shots, physically grab it. Don't squeeze it, but just keep your fingers on it, because that's a sneaky way to feel the vibration where you wouldn't normally feel it. A lot of times that metal's like humming in your hand, but if you don't actually put your fingertips on it, you won't necessarily feel it. So if you're trying to pick through them, don't shoot your bow that way once you've decided on it. But if you're trying to tell a difference between one or another, physically put your fingers on the front of it and feel it vibrate, because you can feel it, and a lot of times you won't. If you
One quick sidebar, I asked Josh, I said, hey Josh, should we put like stabilizers and stuff on here? Give him your answer.
Absolutely not. Why would you try to hide out what's there? Can you get rid of vibration in a bow? Sure. If you're trying to be fair with which one really feels better, you don't want to manipulate one to try to get a better outcome than the other, which is why they're all the same weight, which is why they're all the same length, which is why they're all comparable size bows. So you're trying to be fair one brand to another as close as you can get. So no stabilizers, no extra limb dampeners. However they come to you from the factory is how we're shooting them.
Shot number 2. Hand felt good, draw cycle felt good. I'm gonna wait to kind of rank them a little bit at the end, because I don't know how it's gonna rank to the others. I'm coming from the BOWTECH family, so I might be like a little biased towards.
You typically will. Whatever brand you've shot before has a particular draw cycle, and it's gonna feel more normal to you. So if you try a different brand, everybody's got where their high points and their low points are on the draw cycle a little different. So a Mathews guy tends to feel more enjoyable in a Mathews, and it's not just because he likes the name. It cycles a particular way and you get used to it. So you're probably going to feel that cycle more on a BOWTECH. Do keep in mind that how a cycle particularly feels isn't drastically important, because once you've shot 300 arrows out of that bow, it's going to feel normal, and what you used to shot isn't.
That's
so I wouldn't put cycle really heavy on the level of importance. It is, and you don't want something that's ridiculously hard to pull compared to something that's ridiculously easy if you're not gaining something for the fact that it's harder.
BOWTECH solution down, Mathews V3 31. I gotta say, like, just the general look of that bow, when you're looking at a person shooting it on the range, I'm a big fan. And although looks probably shouldn't be at the top of the buying criteria, I'm kind of into them. You know, I'm the video guy here, so.
They're very aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, they're nice.
Try to keep your feet in the same spot. Try to keep your stance the same, so you're being fair with what you're doing. These all have the same rests and everything on them, so we're as fair as we can possibly be in comparables. First thought?
First thought, felt really good in the hand. Like I didn't feel much of that. Back wall, I will say, felt pretty similar. Draw cycle, maybe like a little different, maybe a little later to start. Is it called the valley?
So there's a peak and a valley.
Yeah.
So the hardest breakover point is your peak, and then when it drops down to the bottom, that's your valley. Some of the bows are harder to pull in the front. Some of the bows are harder to pull towards the back, but somewhere in there, they're hard to pull, or they're really slow if they're not. Like if you pull back a bow that go, wow, this thing feels incredible, it's probably a turd in velocity.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but do be fair with it. If you went with a bow that was a little more aggressive to draw, but back to the weight down, you're probably going to end up with a faster bow that feels equal to draw. So that's why you're setting these all the same, to get a good, fair comparison.
Cool.
Make sure you're touching the front in at least one shot so you can remember the vibration feel. And then when we go through and shoot the singles, I would probably touch the front on all of them so you're paying attention to vibration.
Initial thoughts, 3 arrows. I think this felt deader in the hand than the BOWTECH. I think the BOWTECH's draw cycle felt like what I was used to. To me, though, that's the difference between these two right now. Back wall both felt really good and strong on both of them.
Well, not everybody who's tried everything we have thus far, those are the two that they felt were the nicest. We try not to allow our own bias to have any input. It's what the customer feedback we get over and over and over is kind of where our input comes from.
So I'll just say this is the Prime Nexus.
Nexus 2.
Nexus 2, right away in the hand, in the grip. I know grip's different for everybody, but this feels pretty good. I know with the Mathews, we have some options. I think with the BOWTECH, there are options as well. This grip, just like right in the hand, right away feels pretty good, man.
So a unique difference with this bow is it has a bolt together cam assembly that is actually static equal from left to right. So they claim it has a little less lateral torque in this design and a really wide limb. It does have an internal shim system, so we can play with left to rights just like the Hoyt, just like the BOWTECH. Actually, all the bows that we're trying have that now. We're not trying one that doesn't. There are still some bows on the market that have no way to really functionally adjust your wielding. We're not trying any of those. That's the Nexus. Let's give it a shot, see how it feels.
First shot, draw cycle felt really, really nice. Vibration was the most. Like when it went off, it was
Noticeable,
yeah. Also, because of the string angle, I think that my draw length would have to be slightly different with this. We set these up so the draw length is the same.
Yes.
But I had to like find the string with my nose, which
a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 30, this one's going to probably feel a little different too because it's actually a little longer, but they're the closest ones to compare equally.
Yeah. Apples to apples, we're doing our best.
Nobody makes the exact same bows across the board, so we got to find the closest ones to them to test.
It feels like the draw cycle is nice.
It is. It's a little slower, and that's part of why it's nice. When I was saying you're not going to give get everything somewhere. So if you run into a bow that goes, God, this thing just pulls like butter, shoot it to the chronograph. Compared to something else, it's probably 10 to 15 feet a second slower, but we're just trying to test the normal things here. We'll get into a more in-depth review of these things where you can get true velocity speeds, true felt vibrations, that sort of thing.
Yeah, guys, that's a good point. We wanted to share this. Today, what we're doing is kind of Josh is helping me through the buying process. Shop owner, archery amateur. Josh is going to do a professional review on all of these, so you'll get to hear all those nitty-bitty, itty-gritty details that all of you archery guys like. But today we're just going to kind of go through my experience and take it from there.
I'm going to kind of actually do the same thing Tim's doing, but over a much broader scale. And I'll end up with whatever bow I feel is the best, regardless of what I've shot before or whatnot. Because each year they do a pretty good job of getting something that compares.
Yeah. And I'm kind of excited to shoot that Hoyt too. I know a lot of people have said that it's different than what it's been in the past.
It's definitely different.
Yeah.
100%.
So
yeah.
Here we go. Number 3.
All right. 3 down, 1 to go, and then we can start picking through. That was the Nexus 2. This is a Ventum 33. They do make a Ventum 30, but this is closer in axle to axle to what we were going to try. They do now have a fully shim adjustable system. It's spacers, a lot like the PSEs do, to where you can move the cam left to right with that to adjust wheeling. But it's their first, basically a binary cam. They hadn't made one before now. That's a true eccentric. So this might at a glance look a lot like what they made in the past. This is a completely different cam system. It's very similar to PSEs, but it's actually got a cable technique that I want to say the first time we saw it was on a BOWTECH in like 2008, where the cables, it's a single side to this side, a single side to that side, no splits, where a lot of these have a split yoke style system. This is 3 straight pieces of string fiber, which I really like the design. It's very simplistic, and I'm a fan of simplistic. And having the ability to adjust wheeling can get you a good tune at 13/16, where a lot of them won't have that. But so this is a lot different. I know they look similar, but they're really very different. So they've probably made the most changes this year over anybody. Everybody's made changes, but this is probably the biggest change for a bigger manufacturer. It's the only reason I emphasize some of those things.
Right away, the grip feels probably similar to the Prime. Feels good, feels natural. Let's try it out.
Okay, yeah, what you're going to run into probably when you're trying bows this year especially is most of them are going to feel very similar in vibration. You're going to have a really hard time telling between them. There's really small intricacies, or at least from my shooting them initially. I haven't gone in depth heavy yet, but my initial one, I was like, God, these all feel really close on felt vibration. So you may end up settling on a different category to determine it on, because they're all going to be really neck and neck.
Well, here's arrow number 2.
All right, thoughts?
In the hand, grip felt very comfortable, very dead. Draw cycle felt the most harsh for sure. Just like pulling hard to get it back. And these bows are all set up at the same poundage, so they're apples to apples. That's kind of my thoughts.
Okay, so now that you've fired all of them 3 times, I would fire 1 arrow out of each one and make yourself remove one. Unless right now you are 100% convinced there's one of these bows you don't want. If you already know, then just dump it and we'll move on.
I'm probably predisposed right now to dropping the prime.
Okay.
It just like, there was rattle in the hand for me.
Well, and that, Tim, is the #1 response I've gotten when test firing these 4 bows, is that this one has the most vibration. Everybody feels things different.
Yes.
So I don't want to just put out there that that's just how it is. But out of everybody who's test fired all 4, that is typically the first thing we get, is that feels like it has more vibration.
Yeah.
There's some cool features in that bow otherwise, but that one typically does have the most vibration.
My grip felt good. It was comfy, like very natural in the hand, but definitely when the bow went off, it was...
Okay, so we can go ahead and eliminate that one, and then we'll put an arrow through each of these. And then if you feel comfortable at that point eliminating another one, I would. So we'll start back where we started from. We'll go through the same sequence. There's your BOWTECH.
Top of the lineup.
Load and fire.
BOWTECH solution, round 2.
Grab that.
Or Mathews V3. By the way, how about this release, guys? I know a few of you mentioned, hey, you're not shooting your release. Well, this is my new release. This thing is very, very nice in the hand.
Wait. All right, do you feel comfortable eliminating one? Or do you want to go through them?
No, I do feel comfortable eliminating one. I want to eliminate the Hoyt. It felt the harshest going off and the harshest in the draw cycle.
Out of what's left.
Out of what's left, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just to cycle back on that, I do want to eliminate the Hoyt. Just as I shot those 3 back to back to back, this definitely had the harshest draw cycle going back. And you said that shouldn't be like a big part of my criteria, but it also had the most vibration when it went off. So I do feel... I think I should shoot one more.
Well, no, it's up to you. If you're 2 categories you think it's worse, there's probably no way you're settling on that bow.
Yeah.
Realistically, if it's worse in one but better somewhere else by a lot, then maybe it hangs around. But
yeah, I would
you've
not,
already got 2 that you think it's worse.
Yeah, I would not say it was an overperformer in a category.
Right,
so
well, let's get rid of that then.
And just in the aesthetics category, I'm just got to chime in on that. I do think the Hoyt is probably not the least pretty of these 3. Kind of goofy looking.
So now that you're
Just
down to 2, what I would typically do, I would try to, especially if you're getting close in feel, like you're like, man, this is a hard decision, pay attention to how the bow sits in your hand, how it feels in your hand, and what it does after it goes off. Because initially you're really focusing on how does it feel when I draw it, how does it feel when it goes off as far as the vibration. Now pay attention to how does it roll, how does it cycle, and how does it feel while you're sitting there in your hand? How's the grip sitting against your hand? Because grips actually are a lot of somebody's final decision. So, and I would go back and forth arrow per arrow until you are confident on what you like.
Okay. So that's what we'll do. We'll just go back and forth.
This is not surprising, actually. This is kind of where I figured you were going to get stuck.
I tried to be as unbiased as possible. If I were to estimate where I would have ended up, it would have been here. But that was honest getting to here, and yeah, let's shoot these and figure it out. Honestly, guys, it's pretty hard for me to tell a distinct difference in these 2 at this point. I'm probably just going to cycle a few arrows and try to get back with an educated opinion for you.
Good discipline.
I just wanted to hammer that trigger.
Don't fire a shot that feels like that ever.
Yeah.
Take a minute.
Yeah,
It's a lot of arrows in a short period of time. Nice. Nice clean break. They both sound like incredibly similar going off. Like,
Do they?
Sound is a hard thing to tell as the shooter.
It is.
Because everything goes off with you.
Yes.
But if I was to stand behind you 10 yards, turn around, close my eyes, I couldn't tell you which one was which. I could have probably told you which ones of those were which. I don't think I could tell you on these. These are really close in overall noise on how loud they are, which you can always make it quieter. But once again, we're trying to be as fair and as stock as you could be to how loud are these bows really. It's hard, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, they're really close.
Honestly, guys, it is hard. I think these are both great bows. I got it.
Okay, what's the solution here?
All right, so let's get these side by side.
There you go.
Guys, really stoked on both of these bows. I think they shot good. I think that this felt like home to me. This looked really good on paper. I really had to like close my eyes and pay attention to like how the shots felt when they were breaking. It came down to those last couple arrows and the Mathews just felt much more dead in the hand. And when I say much more, I don't mean to over dramatize that. It was just more steady, smooth going off in the hand. There was still a hint of vibration here. To me, this one, I like the look of it. I like that. It felt better in the hands. That's it. We can have Josh give you guys a couple more tech specs on both bows. For me, we're going to build this bow and we're going to show you that as well. Mathews V3 31. And color scheme wise, I kind of like to be simpler than that. So we'll figure that out. Yeah, I'm excited to get this thing built.
Right on, man. Well, those are about as close as you can get. And I came down to the same thing when I was trying to pick which one I liked better. But, you know, one thing you can't do, unfortunately, in all this is you can't really put fully built bows and use them for a long period of time to really make a better decision. So that's something we're hoping to do on our other channels, get a little more in depth with it. Spec wise, I mean, these are the two closest bows to each other built, honestly. And so I think you made a really good decision there. I bet you a majority of customers are probably going to go 50-50 this year. I bet you we sell a real similar amount of those to these because they're so close it's really hard to tell. Usually there's one glaring winner, but this year it's really tight. But so far we have sold more V3s.
V3s, man, I'm excited to just kind of be on Team Mathews, and Mathews really supports Dan and his mission, and they've made a quality product for years. Like when I started bow hunting, I was like 10, 12 years old, and I could always remember going to archery shop and looking at the Mathews and being like, man, those were always at the top of the line. So they've been a good company for a long time, and I'm just excited to support them and yeah, shoot this bow this year. Get some reps on it. Josh is gonna baby bird me and teach me how to shoot in 2021. We look forward to sharing more of that with you guys. Thanks, Josh, for kind of guiding me through this process.
It's my pleasure, Tim.
What should somebody do if they want to go find the best bow for them in 2021?
Honestly, what we're doing right here is hard to beat. You know, a shop's not going to let you put a sight on it, a peep on it, and shoot it for a month, which is really what you would need to do to truly determine it, because getting used to the grip is the hardest part of telling how accurate a bow is. So there's no way to test fire a bow for accuracy. You can fire the bow for how it feels on draw and vibration. So if you can get a shop that happens to have the major brands that you're comparing, which can be hard to find depending on where you are. We're kind of unique that we have like 7 major brands in stock. We just cherry picked the ones that tend to be the most popular. Find a place, if you can find a place that's got BOWTECH, Mathews, Hoyt, those traditionally tend to be the brands that people are sought after. There's other brands out there that are good, but those are the ones that most commonly people are looking for. If you can find a place that has those and shoot them at the same time, at the same length, if you got to go to 3 different shops to try it, it's going to be very hard to get an honest opinion of which one's nicer. So if you can find a place that has all of them, even if you don't like the place, if they've got them to where you can try them, then you want to go buy it somewhere else, great. But you want to be able to shoot those bows at the same time for feel of vibration, because that is very hard to remember how much one bow vibrated if you're not firing it right after the next one. So try to find a place that has multiple brands to try. This guy right here, if this isn't the best selling bow in the nation this year, I'll be pretty surprised. But this one could be pretty close too. And you're gonna have a resurgence in Hoyt because that does feel a lot better than what they made last year. I think you're gonna see that get an uptick. Trying the bows in the same place, multiple different brands, same length, same weight. Even if the length and weight isn't your ideal length and weight, get them the same so you can compare them exactly the same. If I set this at 28 and this at 29, they're gonna feel different, period. So you need them at the same length and the same weight. That's super important. But do what you can to try as many as you can, preferably in the same place, to get a good, accurate feel.
Yeah, guys, support your local pro shops. Remember, if you want to get a bow tuned and outfitted by Josh, you can always send it here. Get his strings, get the accessories put on, get it super tuned by these guys here at Spokane Valley Archery. Thanks again for letting us use this as kind of our playground to make videos and help share them with you. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel. We're hustling to try to get to 100K this year. I think it could happen. Let us know what you think we should make next and what we need to do to get to 100K. Excited to shoot this, build this, stay tuned for that, and we'll catch y'all back for the next one.